Good morning. My name is David Pollard, your worship leader for this morning service, and this is Common Ground, our celebration of worship for people of many paths who gather to share in the responsible search for meaning and truth. This is a warm community where all who come with open minds and kind hearts are welcome, regardless of ability, age, race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. We hope that all who join us today find this a safe place to worship. Now, if you would please greet the people next to you. You'll have time to greet everyone else after coffee and conversation, which is after the service. When the bell sounds, please join us in a moment of silence, followed by our gathering song. Now please join us with the choir in our opening song, Morning Has Come.
Joy and something a little funky.
This is the fire of our faith. Please join me in these words as Cindy Duhigg cites our chalice flame. We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people united in love and thirsting for restorative justice. May it burn away the feathers that uphold white supremacy in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite us in radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. I invite you to join me in a renewal of our sacred promises. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. Please be seated. And as you are seated, please move toward the walls to make sure that folks that are still arriving find seats. As you know, we also have seats upstairs. In religious education today, the kids will be learning about living creatures in the Holy Quran. This book encourages us to be compassionate to all animals. The children will vote on which animals to discuss. Next week, the children will be learning about Muslims in conflict. This lesson will discuss the Arab-Israeli conflict as well as corresponding activity on how difficult it can be to keep peace between two countries for so many years. Today, the youth will be learning about an 18-year-old who ran in the midterm elections, as well as another girl who stopped her own child marriage and is now doing the same for other girls in Indonesia. Next week, the youth will continue the Muslims in conflict lesson by watching a crash course video and discussion on the Arab-Israeli conflict in the Middle East. At this time, children are invited to take part in our religious education. Let us send them out with these words. We pass this flame of religious freedom from generation to generation. Our call to worship this morning is by Erica Hewitt. Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in community, which can be a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come together to learn more about being human. We're not here because we've figured out life's questions, but because we think we've got it all right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connection in all its forms. Come, let us worship together. And now please stand as you are willing and able to join the Come As You Are choir in our worship song, Come and Go With Me to That Land.
Join us as we sing, Come and Go With Me to That Land.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Where I'm now, where I'm now. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go
You can be seated. So these music videos and the speaker that's coming up are all from the Sunday morning worship at the Unitarian Universalist Association's General Assembly, which was held in Spokane back in June. And our speaker today is the Reverend Marta I. Valentin. Reverend Valentin is minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Medford, Massachusetts. She speaks to us today from the Sunday morning worship service at the UUA General Assembly in Spokane, Washington. So she's not going to start talking right away. So when she first gets up there, she looks over the audience, and because there's like 2,500 people there, it takes a little bit. So bear with her.
I like to see with whom I am about to share the meditations of my heart, especially when I want to begin by saying, I love you. I do. Love is a choice. Love is a way of being. So I love you. And here is the truth in that statement. I must love you to choose to remain among you. So may I be a vessel for all that must flow through me, because here is another truth. I need you to survive. In this great turning that is happening in our faith, it feels most important to say that when I can tell you that I love you and know that I mean it, I can be fully myself. I am empowering myself. And that I hope it means that you too can be fully your empowered self, and that you will roll, step, sidle up into this circle made of my arms and meet me halfway, even if I say hard things. I was pulled to review past General Assemblies in preparation for this service, because I felt that from year to year, important messages are forgotten. Thus, I wish to include some of those voices today in words and in music. When our theme, The Power of We, was revealed, many from the historically marginalized communities immediately asked, who is the we? It felt like the assumption was it is all of us Unitarian Universalists. But is it? When many of us from the Black indigenous and people of color communities experience a kind of Unitarian Universalism that is neither what we were told it is, nor how we know it could be? Is it? When our trans family is repeatedly muted? Is it? When our people living with seen and unseen disabilities are made invisible anyway? Is it? When Christian UUs and military chaplains feel they have to be in the closet? Is it? When our youth have to fight to be taken seriously and our young adults to have space of their own? As a Latina with skin in the game for 30 years, I observe the changes our faith tradition is undergoing and note that those not paying attention continue to perpetuate old narratives, like nothing has really changed, it just looks different. Or people are withholding their money because they don't like the direction we've taken. Now remember this. These people are Unitarian Universalists who are trying to live out our 7 principles and maybe even an 8th one day. These are not random people who receive an email from the UUA requesting support. They are included in whatever version of we is being upheld. They are people who love and are loved. They may have taught our youth, taken care of our babies or our sages, whose inability to deal with open conflict has led to more conflict, who refuse to understand how their lack of engaging the work causes microaggressions to spill out of them like unexpected spit in the faces of people who look or talk or act like me, who hang on to the supreme whiteness of being at all costs, not been able to grasp that we are all swimming in poisoned proverbial waters. This is a complicated picture. Yet despite all of this, you, the faithful, have gathered when much of what would happen this year was uncertain. As we gather gives life and potential to new actions. It takes this same faithfulness to jump into the concept of we. And your presence is an affirmation that you too are in pursuit of this power of we. Because the power of a community is deeper and stronger than the power any individual can have. It's a matter of what defines that power. And I like the kind that has the word we embedded in it. The power of a reliable community gives us plenty of hands to take down the pieces of white supremacy we are dismantling and helps to hold the structure in place while the new is being imagined and then built. In this process, I hold out for what we may want to keep. In the same way that not everything is all good, not everything is all bad either. And to uncover what has worth and value and is crucial to maintain, we must go on an expedition. We are called to be collective hearts and respectively sift through the blood-soaked rubble. It is time now for this great, delicate turning that we are engaged in. For decades, we Black, Indigenous, and people of color have spoken up many times about how exclusionary our faith can be, even as Unitarian Universalism swears we are the most inclusive. We have all said hard and harsh things to one another in pursuit of that better, truly equal, truly just, life-saving world we know can exist for ourselves and for 7 generations to come. And we are all so tired. All of us know we must do better, but are all of us willing to be better? My colleague, Sofia Betancourt, spoke this truth last year when she said, we can never be the bearers of love and justice that the world so desperately needs if the foundation that sustains us is still perpetuating the very problems we long to solve. When I think about the archaeology of my heart, I am reminded of sacred sites that have had edifices built on top of them. I think of the stories told and retold to justify those acts, and I wonder, what are the sacred stories I hold that remain buried within? What collective stories do we hold? Those sacred stories must be built into the new foundation because the old stories just won't do. We have lost sight of the sacred stories that preserve the soul of what Unitarian Universalism set out to be before the world got its hands on it. Even though our faith came into existence through the dominant culture, whose goal was to look out for and preserve itself, I have to believe that there was also a slim and barely visible filament of light, a placeholder for the clarity that is emerging now out of the murky depths. A murkiness that we could not easily nor faithfully acknowledge exists in our faith. Sacred sites come to mind because I do not want us to simply build over as a manifestation of power over. I want us to build with, which I believe is for us. I do not want us to be like Mexico City's cathedral, built over an archaeological treasure trove that was once Tenochtitlan, the city of the Aztecs, known as Templo Mayor. Underneath this centuries-old structure of power, discovered only 40 years ago, lies 7 levels of pyramids. And as each dig brings new discovery, clearly there is still so much more to bring to light. When voices rose to be rid of the cathedral and build something new, others countered it was too sacred, and it is hard to dismantle what is sacred. We cannot deny that our beloved faith, our cathedral of sorts, as originally conceived by non-people of color, was built on land not of its own, incorporated rituals and songs not of their making, and came together on 2 as yet unmet aspirations: that we are all one and that all of us would be saved. We can also not deny that the time has come again to acknowledge that the Unitarian, Universalist, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as those from other marginalized communities who have remained among us, are rising through each one of those pyramid levels to reclaim the opportunities taken or hidden from us, demanding our place within those two foundational aspirations. As an archaeologist of my heart, I am digging with small brushes and toothpicks in search of my own Black and indigenous roots. Us Boricuas have Taino Indian and Spanish blood in our veins, but not all of us were raised with that recognition. Now, I am not saying that is the fault of this faith, but I am saying that all that has been happening in the last few years is leading me to acknowledge the ways in which I have been complicit in my own whitewashing. In this turning we have embarked on, there is delicate dismantling work for all of us because of the sacredness underneath. We think we know what we will uncover, but we don't, because what we are doing has never been completed to fruition. Will we, as Bill Sinkford once asked, continue to trust this faith to build a way out of no way? This delicate work necessitates the building of relationships that many have yet to build. And as I sift through the personal and collective layers, I find scraps and messages that over time have been forgotten, intentionally ignored, or worse, buried. Buried in the confusion of what is the politically correct thing to do or say. Which cultural faction should be heeded due to its status? Which training, book, program, school of thought to follow? We've had Jubilee Twos and transformation teams, Journey Hold Wholeness, Beloved Conversations and Mosaic Maker programs, intercultural development inventory and public conversations, not to mention all the private conversations that teach or tear down. We've had Grace and Adore, resolutions and responsive resolutions, AIWs. We've heard from Martin Luther King Jr. asking us not to sleep through the revolution. Maria Hinojosa's demand to make the invisible visible. Brian Stevenson's quiet fierceness to get proximate. Cornel West's forthright question, what is the quality of your struggle? Justice is what love looks like in public. Winona LaDuke's deep thought, how much and how brave are we in our ability to deconstruct some of the paradigms which we have embraced? Krista Tippett's, what we practice, we become. With her offering of a way to start a whole new kind of conversation. Pose a question to another like, what is love? And then answer the question searchingly, honestly, through the story of your life. And there has been so much more. So I'm curious, after all that we have heard as a faith community, all that we have done, all the programs, interventions, exceptions, strategic plans, departments created, why are we still here? Really, what is holding us back? Now, I know you want me to offer my opinion on that. But I need you to think a little harder, dig a little deeper, open your hearts a little wider, and tenderly poke around so your mind can follow suit. As archaeologists of our hearts, we can unearth the sacred stories that must be preserved in this delicate work. It is time-consuming work, yes, but we must keep at it to excavate the treasures covered in dirt and mud, sometimes intentionally so. And the work is delicate because the stakes are so high that it is about what deserves and who gets to make that decision. What is appropriate to go into the future with us, into the new sacred site we are building? Reverend Susan last year said that this is no time for a casual faith. Indeed, a casual faith will not carry us very far, not even into our own depths. The power of we that is a living community engaged in this delicate work of digging out, dismantling, and rebuilding has us bumping elbows, yes, but hopefully no more than that. Unveiling sacred sites is collective work, and the power of we moves us from the solitary I to the community we, where there is a strong sense of belonging and we work together to the benefit of all. In the we culture, the people are centered. It is impeccably inclusive, and the I exists only in relation to others. Each of us must be strong for the collective to thrive. And at the core, the words we carry are not just ours. They include the voices of our ancestors speaking through and with us. And as this we engages in the delicate work, it is not about the power of tiptoeing. The work requires speaking respectfully as we uphold our covenants. It asks us to listen reflectively, to teach the truth authentically, and extend compassion to others we might not care for. And in the end, I have to take a sip of water for this one. Excuse me, pardon me. It is my Black, Indigenous, and people of color families that I wish to thank for being pillars of strength, tenacity, and fortitude, and for having largesse of heart, for the generosity of soul which has allowed your spirits to pull whatever needs to be pulled out of an already empty hat, because we love this faith. Its theologies have saved us, and we want to save our children and our children's children from an increasingly frightening world. We know our white siblings are being called to pick up this work, and until you all do, we also know we need each other to survive. That is, we cannot allow our othering to cause us to claw at one another. I want to thank us right now for all to hear, for our ability to keep showing up even after we've been insulted, talked down to, overlooked for promotions, unjustly been terminated, had our truths that were courageously spoken, trampled on and challenged, had our hearts torn to pieces, shards so tiny we've needed those archaeological brushes and toothpicks to pick each fragment up. And we've survived. That is our love for each other, to set our beautiful, sensitive, strong, powerful hearts back together to face another day. We came and fell in love with the Unitarian and Universalist theologies, but clashed with the culture. And hear me when I say, this is not a pity party. But it is to say that we do it all because this faith is ours too. And our hour is all-reaching, calling everyone in. Some of us may not know what it means to live with a disability, but we make sure that those who do not only have a place at the table, but that they can get into the room. May not know what it means or how to use the appropriate gender identity or pronoun, but as we develop relationships, there is clarity. And likewise, we open ourselves to the beautiful variations of our human family as people with biracial, multiracial, and transracial families, and are reaffirmed of the magnificence that I call God. Ubuntu, I am because we are. This is our power of we. And it is time now, because it is an extraordinary time to be alive. And we should all get to be the ones to shepherd this delicate turning with all the love we can muster. This turning that should have happened 50 years ago is our great collective call now. We cannot continue to waste our precious breath on fake fights, as my colleague Nancy McDonald Ladd has said. This is not about serving the same old stuff in new cups, as Silvio claimed in his song. This is about ministering with new ideas in new cups to thirsty people. And I don't mean just newcomers who find us. I mean those of us who have been here all along. We have become so thirsty for the faith we know this could be and should be. The presence of all the historically marginalized UUs that has made us open and affirming has added a depth that only we could have 7 pyramids deep. It is time to throw out our exceptional identity and humble ourselves. We are not all that. Even as Eboo Patel lauded all the good we've done in the world, we have always done good in the world. It is in our DNA. The question is, are we ready to be better for our own people? Because the world includes every person in our faith, many of whom have been microaggressed right out the door. It is the silent revolving door that many do not want to acknowledge aloud. It is time to ask ourselves, who are we really? Which Unitarian Universalism are we taking into our future? If we have no intention of taking it to the equal opportunity promised land, that. Or let's Marie Kondo our unfaithful practices and release what no longer serves us and make room for what will. How? Tell me, how can we save the world if we cannot save ourselves? And now remember, I say this because I love you and I need you to survive. But I also need to say, and I speak only for myself, I am running out of truths to tell and ways of saying them. It is time now to keep this beloved faith from fracturing. Moreover, in this delicate turning, let us remember that before anything, ante todos, somos seres humanos. We are human beings who have chosen to travel together to make a new, more just world together. We must continue to choose each other as companions if we are to accompany one another. And am I saying we all must be the same? No. Am I saying that power needs to be shared? Yes. Am I saying that power needs to be given away? Yes. This is part of the delicate turning, the willingness to be led, to accept that there is much you do not know and the others do. Others whose voices have been kept marginalized and thus silent by even us, exceptional people. And in this delicate turning, holding our humanity before us, loving ourselves over this hump, loving others enough to let them in, not just into our pews, but into our hearts. Not just intellectually into our minds, but into our very souls. If we could do that, we can truly call ourselves exceptional. History is being made in this turning. Will we turn back onto ourselves and make of the circle a rut? Or will we move slightly, delicately, and like a spiral go deeper? Tell me, what are you ready to do with your now? How will you become ready if you are not yet? Frankly, no one is ever completely ready, and no one's comfort is at the center. You just do what must be done. As Brittany Packnett so eloquently stated last year, your power is waiting on you to pick it up with love and expectancy and get to work. Let's be co-liberators and let's get free together. Our world is waiting for us, and so is our faith. Que así sea, so may it be. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
As we have received, so we are asked to give. Please use the offering envelopes provided. Green envelopes are for pledges or gifts to Pathways. Gold envelopes are for donations to our outreach partner. And our outreach partner for the months of July, August, and September is Mid-Cities Care Corps. Mid-Cities Care Corps is a nonprofit 501c3 established in 1981 with a mission to preserve the independence of our senior neighbors in Northeast Tarrant County. Based in Hearst, MCCC serves residences living in 11 Northeast Tarrant County cities, including Hearst, Euless, Bedford, Colleyville, Haltom City, Watauga, South Lake Keller, and Richland Hills. MCCC connects clients with caring volunteers to provide 3 programs: transportation, lighthouse work, and home repair, and social outreach. That's 4. Oh, well. No fees are charged for these services. For more information, see the link in your weekly newsletter, and we will now receive the offering.
Some hands have held the world together. Some hands have fought in wars forever. Tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine? Some hands have blessed 1,000,000 people. Some hands helped free the world from evil. Tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine? What shall I do with these hands of mine? What shall I do with these hands of mine? The world could use a hero of the human.
Thank you for your generous gifts, kindly and freely given this morning and by mail throughout the month to support this congregation and our outreach efforts. Your offering is truly appreciated. I would like to have a moment of silence now for the communities in El Paso and Dayton. As Reverend Valentine said a few minutes ago, we need you to survive. We hope that each of you on your individual paths through the joys and questions of life have found some common ground with your fellow travelers here at Pathways today. As Cindy extinguishes our chalice flame, let us join in these words. We extinguish the chalice of our living tradition. May its light and warmth continue to accompany us until we are together again. And to our first-time visitors, if you'd like to learn more about Pathways, stay around after the worship and talk to us. We'd love to meet you. Be sure to share your contact information with us at the welcome table in the foyer. And if you'd like, sign up in our website for our weekly e-newsletter to be informed of events coming up at Pathways. There are meetings and events here at Pathways throughout the week. Here are just a few. For a full lineup, see here at Pathways Weekly, or the events calendar on our website at pathwaysuu.org. Mystic Path will be meeting on August 8th at 7 p.m., which I believe is Thursday. This meeting will be a show and tell session as the group continues its discussion of the metaphysical properties of healing crystals and gemstones. Newcomers are welcome. Bring your rock collection and your stories. A new Pathways men's group is forming up. All Pathways guys are invited to attend the first meeting on Friday, August 9th, starting at 7 p.m. at Ted's Place, which is 7417 Douglas Lane in North Richland Hills. There are some flyers out on the chairs for this. We are men meeting for men. We are not a service organization or a fundraising group. Come and see what men do. Contact Ten Kuzmirsky, Mike Morgan, Mark Villanova, Richard Holderman for more information. Snacks are provided, and bring your own beverages. What are you doing Saturday, August 10? We hope it will be hosting or attending a circle dinner. You know that everyone in our church community, would you like to get to know people better beyond the Sunday, hi, how are you doing? Real friendships are made with people who sit down and share a meal together. Let's all sign up for circle dinners this month and get to know each other, grab a snack after the service, and sign up for the circle dinners while you're eating and while you have eating on your mind. Okay. Please join our Tarrant County congregations on a picnic together at First Jefferson, which is on the east side of Fort Worth. That'll be Saturday, August 24th. There will be games and a bounce house and live entertainment from Michael Moore and other artists, burgers with vegan options available, and drinks provided by Intuck. Pathway attendees are asked to bring a side or a salad for the meal. And then also, Wellsprings will again be offering a Wellsprings group during the next academic year. For the next few Sundays, participants from past groups will be telling you about their experience. Today, Luke Kimball would like to say a few words about Wellsprings.
Thank you, David. Good morning. Sisters, brothers, visitors. It's always good to be here. I'm grateful to be here. I am so grateful I walked through the door at Pathways and became part of this congregation. And I appreciate the fact that you're here and we're a community. I just wanted to start with that. Today's speaker, what a great segue into talking about Wellspring. It really is. I'm going to ask, first of all, everybody that's taken the Wellspring course, would you please stand up? And the reason and just stay standing for just a minute, Tammy upstairs, I hope you're standing. If you have any questions about Wellspring, track one of these folks down and ask. They have firsthand experience. You can sit down. Thank you. As Reverend Marta said, she's asked the question, who are we? She's looking for peace, justice in this world. And how do you get peace and justice in the world? You start with yourself. And there was a famous, I don't know if it was Buddha or, I've studied so many of those guys, I've lost track. But how do you find peace in this world? You start with yourself. That's where you start. And I think as if we all can do this, we can make the world a better place. So I've always asked myself these questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Big picture, not specifically here in church today. What should I do with the gift of life that I've been given every single day to maximize my experience in this world? I look at life a little differently. Don't make fun of me. I see I'm in the last third of my life. I really have to make this count. I also say that I'm on climbing what I call the second mountain. I knew I was on this spiritual journey. The second mountain refers to a book by David Brooks. Any of you read it or heard of it? Oh, there's one person. Good. Anyhow, he wrote a book, and I bought it, and it really fits where I'm at in my life. The first mountain, it's a metaphor for your life. The first mountain you climb is, you get an education. Well, first of all, you grow up, figure out how to go to the bathroom and feed yourself. You get an education, get a job, get married, have a couple kids, get a divorce. Hopefully not. You work on your career, you work on making money, you do all these things that you're supposed to do in society. But at some point, you kind of wake up one day and you go, whoa, there's probably more to life than this. I live on this planet, we're all on this planet. How do I make this a better place for all of us? And that's the second mountain, where you still got to make money, you still got to live, still got to take care of your kids. But what can I do that will serve my community, serve the world at large? And that's kind of where I was at. I called it my spiritual quest. Anyhow, the title of David's book is it's called The Second Mountain, The Quest for a Moral Life. That brought me into Wellspring. And I wanted to join Wellspring because I was on this quest. I'm going to just straight up tell you it's work. It's 19 sessions. It's 9 months. Mike, don't let that scare you. There's 4 books to read. I ended up I read like 8 books because I kind of got into some of the authors and wanted to read more about Parker Palmer, Thich Nhat Hanh. It was a lot of work, but it's like anything in life. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. You're going to get out of life what you put into it. And I'm sorry Sandy and Jim are not here. As much as I think I put into that class, they put in 4 times as much, organizing it and basically putting it together and working with all of us, the 12 of us that took the class. What are you going to learn? You're going to learn about UU history, which is pretty rich. You're going to learn about spiritual practices, meditation. You're going to learn about listening, Taoism, Buddhism, Transcendentalism, something called process theology. We talked about living a great life. We also talked about death. There was one gentleman that we just touched on, but he's one of my favorite authors. His name is Belden C. Lane. He wrote about spirituality and nature. I'm just going to read a quote from one of his books. It says, "We are surrounded by a world that talks, but we do not listen. We are part of a community engaged in a vast conversation, but we deny our role in it. In the face of climate change, species loss, vast environmental destruction, the ability to stand in this great conversation of all creatures in the earth can feel utterly lost to the human race." And that's so true. There's so much stuff happening now. Liz isn't here because I definitely differ with her. She says things are getting better. I go, I don't think so. I worry about us. Not necessarily me. I'm fortunate I'll be dead 30, 40 years. I won't see the worst of what's coming. That's one way to look at this positively. I just feel bad for my kids and their kids and their kids and the next umpteen generations. The other thing that we did in Wellspring, we operated in a circle of trust in small group environment. It'd be 2 or 4 of us in a small group. The circle of trust was all 12 of us, plus Sandy and Jim. You get to know people, I'll say very well, within your group, small groups. You get to know people at a level that you're not going to get to experience just coming to church and just going to these services here. So I was just grateful for that. So who am I? I am a loving, grateful, passionate, and capable man who tries to be a disciple of inspiration. The question I'm going to ask you is, who are you? If you want to sign up for Wellspring, there's a sign-up sheet out in the lobby on the desk. If you have any questions, find one of us. There's 19 sessions run basically the academic year, so we'll probably start in about a month. While I'm here, I'm going to talk about one other thing that's coming up that I think is important. Didn't make it into the bulletin. Friday, August 23rd, 7 to 9 p.m., there's going to be a gentleman here. His name is Andrew Seidel. He's going to give a presentation on a book he wrote, and the title of the book is The Founding Myth: Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American. I think is very relevant, especially in light of what just happened in El Paso. Andrew is a constitutional attorney. He works for the Freedom From Religion Foundation, ffrf.org. He litigates cases involving religion and the Constitution. And I think that's going to be a good presentation, so I hope you can join us for that too. That's all I have. Thank you.
Can I have my script back? Thank you. Comes in handy sometimes. After we break for coffee and conversation, we'll continue with our adult discussion groups. The Harriet Reasoner discussion group will meet here in the sanctuary. Today's topic is liberalism. What we mean by it, why it is hated by the left and by the right. And this is a discussion that will be moderated by Marge Stockton. Now, On My Path group will meet upstairs in the loft. This is a group of adults to celebrate and deepen their individual spiritual journey. It is open to all seekers from any path and is a safe place to speak your truth in a circle of trust. Visitors and newcomers are welcome in all the adult discussion groups. Also, a reminder to the parents, please pick up your children from the nursery immediately after Common Ground so that all the nursery will reopen at 11:30 for the adult discussion groups. Now, we're doing our closing in reverse order this morning, so if you would please rise as Body and Spirit wills for some closing words of covenant by the Reverend Lynn Susanna Ulrich from the Spokane GA, and then remain standing for our closing song.
Covenant lies at the heart of our spiritual tradition. We freely choose to gather and regather, to make promises and renew promises, to lift each other up and hold each other accountable, that the streams of love might freely flow. Living into our covenants is no small task, but it is a worthy one. As our time together in this sacred circle begins to close, I invite you to join me in a set of promises to take back out into the world with you. And because consent is central to covenant, I will read it aloud first, and then I'll ask all who so choose to speak it with me in unison. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community beyond these walls. This is our covenant with each other, to help justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love. I invite you now to join me as we read together. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community beyond these walls. This is our covenant with each other, to help justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love.
And now, yes, it kind of fits like a theme or something almost. It's amazing. Now please join us in our closing song, There Is More Love Somewhere.
Okay, so we're singing without music. So I'm going to play the melody once for all of us, and we'll go from there. And basically, all the words are the same except for one, each verse. So it'll be up there, but we'll call it out too. I think we start with love, and then hope, and then peace and joy. Is it still on? All right. Listen. All right, make sure. So we got the count is like right back. All right, sorry. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. Now, hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. Peace. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. More joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. Right now. Yeah.
Love?
I feel joy right now.
Okay.
It's somewhere. I think there's some right here.
Well, blessed be and go in peace.
Yeah, blessed be. Go in peace. I like it to be rowdy. That's right.
Yeah, play the video.